morning. My name is Adrienne Parker, and today we're going to learn about character traits, both physical and emotional. Yesterday, we read a story called Mr. Jackson, the math teacher. Today, to help us to understand everything that happened in the story, we're going to use a graphic organizer called Character Traits Graphic Organizer. This organizer is going to help us to attain our objective today, which is identifying and describing character traits, both physical and emotional. Within our graphic organizer, we're going to pull out evidence from the text, okay, on what the character says. We're also going to write down what the character does, what the character thinks, as well as what the character says, do, and think towards the character. So what other characters say, do, and think towards the character. Before we can start our process today, we're going to discuss what are physical traits. What are physical traits? And what are emotional traits? So can anyone tell me a physical trait that you may use to describe someone, okay? Yes, strong, okay, I like that. So one physical trait is strong. Can someone tell me another physical trait, okay, another physical trait? Yes, athletic, okay. That is definitely a physical trait. Someone's already thinking about our story. Does anyone have one last physical trait? One last physical trait that looking at a person or reading something and inferring based on reading, and we all like to make our inferences. That's a big thing that we've been working on. So think about, if you didn't have a picture, something that may come to mind, that has to do with being a physical trait. Okay, yes, healthy. Healthy's a good one. Healthy, yes. All right, let's now move down to what are emotional traits. What are emotional traits? Emotions are a little different than our physical. So emotions should tell how a person feels. So we want to, not mistake the two. Emotions should tell how a person feels, even if they're not displaying it on the outside, okay? Because right now, I could be feeling very nervous. Okay, so they may not be displaying it on the outside, but you could still tell that, they're feeling, happy or a little sad, just based on the things that they're saying, or maybe their body language, okay? So can someone tell me one emotional trait that you may see? Yes. Okay, that's a good emotional trait. One emotional trait is annoyed. Annoyed. We all get annoyed from time to time. May not show it, but we definitely get annoyed. Can someone else tell me another emotional trait? Another emotional trait that comes to mind, something else that comes to mind? Yes. Concerned. That's one that happens all the time. And I'm always concerned about if you guys are understanding what it is that we are doing. And we're going to take one last, because we just went 3 here like we have up top, so then we can move on to our story and start to have fun. Okay, so one last emotional trait. Emotional trait. Yes. Thoughtful. I like that. I like that a lot. You guys are doing an awesome job. An awesome job. Yes. Thoughtful. Okay, so let's just review real quick before we move on. Our physical traits are strong, athletic, and healthy. Our emotional traits are annoyed, concerned, and thoughtful. So now that we have pretty much, we understand our physical and emotional traits, now let's move on to our character traits graphic organizer. And again, we want to remember our story that we read yesterday on Mr. Jackson, the math teacher. Mr. Jackson had a lot going on with him. So let's just start with here, what the character says. What the character says. So first thing I'm going to do is his character's name. So I'm going to write Mr. Jackson. Okay, because that's who we're going to focus on right now. Mr. Jackson. All right. And now we're going to go down to the next box, and the next box being what the character says. And I want to think about the interaction, the person that Mr. Jackson had most interaction with. Can someone tell me who he had the most interaction with? Yes, Devontae, yes. And what did Mr. Jackson say to Devontae? Because Mr. Jackson said a lot of things to Devontae. So what are one of the things that he said to Devontae? Okay, yes. If you want to drop my class, okay, if you want to drop my class, comma, that's on you. Okay, that's one thing that he said. Did he say anything else? Did he say anything else? And something really important. Let's think about something really important he may have said. Yes. I like that. I definitely like that. We don't want to forget our quotation marks because he said that. If you get into college, comma, you may find that you are not as prepared as you thought. Wow. Wow. Okay. Just based on that, I'm feeling some emotion there. Someone ever tell me what emotion that, you know, just based on what he said, what Mr. Jackson may be feeling. What is he feeling? Yes. Annoyed. Yes, he could definitely be feeling annoyed. Okay, just from here or this one. Anyone else thinking maybe something else behind that? Yes. Concerned. Yes, I would say definitely he may be concerned. Okay, this part right here alone. Okay, if you get into college, you may find that you're not as prepared as you thought. Is definite concern. Definite concern. What the character does. Okay. What did Mr. Jackson do? We found out something about Mr. Jackson. What did he do? He taught math. Yes, okay. So I'm just going to bullet point this to make it easy. Okay. He taught math. What else did he do? Because we found out something else about Mr. Jackson. So what else did he do? Yes. He ran the 400 relay. Wow. And it was the 400 US relay. And won a gold medal in 1972. Good job. Okay. I'd say that's pretty impressive. What the character thinks. So what does Mr. Jackson think about what Devontae is laying on him? Because Devontae is saying, you know what? I'm going to drop your class. I have, training. I can't, do all of this math and training at the same time. Your math is just hard. Okay? And he's saying all this to Mr. Jackson. So what does Mr. Jackson start to do? Okay? What does he start to do? He starts to say what to him? Right? Okay? What the character thinks. And I'm going to say he thinks Devontae is making a huge mistake. I agree. He thinks Devontae's making a huge mistake. Okay. Also, now we're down here. Well, other characters. So we have two other characters. We have Shanika, which is Devontae's sister. She also had Mr. Jackson as the math teacher. We also have Kevin, who's Devontae's best friend, and he too runs track. Okay. So what characters say, do, think towards Mr. Jackson? So I'm going to start with Shanika because Shanika just got home from college and she didn't have really much as far as what she was saying or the part she was playing in our story. So let's start with Shanika. Shanika tells her little brother, Devontae, that if it wasn't for Mr. Jackson, she would not have done well in college. That if it weren't, if it wasn't for, and they call him Mr. J, so we're going to call him Mr. J also. If it wasn't for Mr. J, comma, she wouldn't have done well in college. I'd say that was pretty good. Also, Shanika's the one that did what? Shanika's the one that did what? What did Shanika do? Shanika did what? Shanika also told Devontae about Mr. J and the medal that he won because she went to his house to visit him because she wanted to thank him. So yes, she told about Mr. J's medal. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to Kevin. Okay, what did Kevin say, do, or think about Mr. Jackson? What did Kevin say, do, or think about Mr. Jackson? All right, and let's think about Kevin. Kevin played a big role also. Kevin noticed what? What did Kevin notice? Kevin noticed that Mr. J, while he was speaking in a calm voice, comma, his eyes were fiery. Wow. That says a lot. That says a lot, okay? Because like I said, again, we can smile over situations. We can look angry, but yet our body is completely calm and we're like, yeah, okay. But our eyes are saying something else as our, words are very calm and docile. So based on this, let's pull out some character traits based on this. Let's go back. Okay, what the character says, Mr. Jackson. So Mr. Jackson here is talking to Devontae. He says, if you want to drop my class, that's on you. So based on that, what do you think he's feeling emotionally? Emotionally, what is he feeling? Okay, yes, upset. Okay, I'm going to put an E here for emotionally, and then I'm going to write upset. So that's one of his traits, one of his character traits. What else? When he says, if you get into college, you may find that you are not as prepared as you thought. When you get into college, you may find that you're not as prepared as you thought. Based on that, what emotions do you think Mr. J is feeling? Yes. Okay. He could be feeling concerned. Definitely concerned.